Hello guys, welcome to the IITM GATE classes. As we have seen in the previous video, we are started the discussion on previous year GATE question paper. Now we are going to start thermodynamics application. As we have already seen basic thermodynamics, now we are going to see thermodynamic application. As we know that we have the different application of thermodynamics in RAC, that is refrigeration and air conditioning, power plant, and we have the application in IC engine also. Now we are going to discuss each and every solution of GATE 2020 mechanical set 1 and set 2 of thermodynamic application. Now coming to the question paper pattern, the total number of questions that were asked in GATE 2020 mechanical set 1 around 4 questions. Now 1 mark question were 1 and 2 mark question were 3. So the total weightage was around 7%. Let's see, we have the 100 marks, the 7 marks were allotted to thermodynamic application in GATE 2020 mechanical set 1. Now coming to the mechanical set 2 paper, the weightage was slightly on the higher side as compared to mechanical set 1. The 1 mark question were 3 and 2 mark question were 3. So the total weightage was around 9%. That is huge regarding thermodynamic application. Now coming to the question number 1. Now in this question, that is mechanical set 1 regarding thermodynamic application, they have said the compressor of a gas power plant, we have a gas power plant we have the compressor of a gas power plant operating on ideal intercooled Brayton cycle. Now there's the overall compression ratio is given 6. That is, we are going to compress in 2 stages. That is 2-stage compression process. Intercooling is used to cool the air coming out from the first stage to the inlet temperature of the first stage. Air enters the compressor, which is given the parameter, and value is been given. Properties of the gas are constant, that is not going to vary. The intercooling pressure for minimum compression work. The intercooling pressure for minimum compression work in kilopascal they are asking. So now, first of all, this problem is very easy. But before discussing the solution of this question, let us understand what is the meaning of gas turbine power plant and what is the meaning of Brayton cycle. Let's discuss each and every term one by one. Now, first of all, we have seen that we have different types of power plant for generating the power, like steam power plant, gas turbine power plant, and we have nuclear power plant. Now, coming to the steam power plant, there's a power generation in the turbine due to flowing of steam into the turbine, which is generated inside the boiler. Now coming to the gas turbine power plant, there is a working fluid here is air, that is atmospheric air. Basically, this type of gas turbine plant we are using in aircraft application. The reason is very simple, because due to the low weight it is carrying, we can carry gas turbine power plant inside the aircraft. Now we know that the basic funda, the gas turbine power plant is working on the basis of Brayton cycle. It is not Rankine cycle. Rankine cycle, steam power plant is working based on the Rankine cycle, and gas turbine power plant is going to work on Brayton cycle. Let's see what is Brayton cycle, specifically intercooling Brayton cycle. So first let me draw the graph. Let's see, we are drawing temperature versus entropy curve. Now, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. It is a simple Brayton cycle, we know. It is a simple Brayton cycle where 1 to 2 is nothing but isentropic compression, 2 to 3 is nothing but isobaric heat addition, 3 to 4 is nothing but isentropic turbine, that is isentropic expansion. This process happens in the turbine. Now 4 to 1 is nothing but heat rejection, that is isobaric heat rejection. That is a very simple Brayton cycle, but they have mentioned intercooled Brayton cycle. So let me draw a figure of intercooled Brayton cycle. Let me draw a figure of intercooled Brayton cycle. Okay. Now, let me draw two curves, that is T versus entropy and pressure versus volume curve. Temperature and entropy and pressure versus volume curve. Now intercooling is nothing but 1 to 2 compressor. Again there is an intercooling from 2 to 3. Now from 3 to 4 again we are going to compress in the compressor, that is working at higher pressure as compared to the compressor work, as compared to the lower pressure compressor, that is 1 to 2. Now we are going to heat the working fluid air inside the combustion chamber. Now this is our process. Now as you can see, 2 to 3 is nothing but everything is same, it is a intercooling, that is constant pressure process. 2 to 3 is nothing but intercooling. Now we are assuming in this question perfect intercooling. Perfect intercooling. That means whatever the temperature before the compression process, that is T1, will be equal to after the cooling process also T3. T1 equal to T3, that is perfect cooling, perfect intercooling we are assuming. Otherwise we cannot get intermediate pressure, that is optimized intermediate pressure for getting the minimum work output. Now let's see, let us assume this is the point number 2 dash. Now let me draw a PV diagram. Let me draw a PV diagram. 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5 and 6. Now we are drawing Brayton cycle with intercooling. Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now let me show what is the effect of intercooling on Brayton cycle or efficiency of gas turbine, or what is the net work output of the gas turbine. As you can see, this is the 2 dash. Now whatever the area that is, I'm going to shade, that is shaded portion, that is the amount of work, that is amount of compression work is going to save. Means net work is nothing but turbine work minus total compression work. If total compression work will reduce, then net work done will automatically increase. And that is the motto in gas turbine power plant. In gas turbine plant, the motto is not to increase the efficiency. The motto is to increase the net work output from the system. That is from the total plant. Now, but the disadvantage of Brayton cycle with intercooling is that you can see the net heat rejection is going to be increased by this much portion. The heat rejection is going to increase. So due to this phenomena, efficiency of the cycle will decrease. Now you will think that why we are employing intercooling when efficiency of the cycle decreases. Remember that in Rankine cycle, efficiency is very, very much important term. But in the Brayton cycle, that is in the gas turbine plant, efficiency is not that much important. to getting the maximum work output from the system is very much important. That is going to be higher concern. We are going to focus on getting the maximum work net from the gas plant. So if efficiency decreases, to overcome this, to overcome decrease in efficiency, we are going to employ intercooling plus regeneration process. So what is happening? Due to this, efficiency will also increase as well as network output will also increase. So that is the concern regarding the total discussion regarding Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now let me write down quickly, briefly about what is going to happen. What are the changes in the network output, heat rejection, heat supplied, what are the changes will happen due to intercooling. Now, work of compression, that is total, is going to reduce. That is effect. That is effect of intercooling on Brayton cycle. Work of turbine is going to remain same. Heat supply is going to increase. Why? Because from initially we are increasing from T2 to T2 dash T5, but now we are increasing from T4 to T5. So heat supply is going to increase. Heat rejection is going to increase. Due to that, efficiency will reduce. Now, and the network output, that is our main aim, will increase due to this intercooling process. Now coming to the question, what basically they ask in the question, we need to get intermediate pressure. Now we got the basic idea of what is the meaning of Brayton cycle with intercooling process. Now we can move on to that regarding determining the intermediate pressure for getting the minimum work of compression. Now intermediate pressure for minimum work input. Now again I'm going to draw a TS diagram so that no confusion will be there. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. Sorry, 5 to 6. These are the process in the TS diagram we have drawn. The Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now work of compression is nothing but work of compression 1 to 2 plus work of compression from 4 to 3. So we can write down MCP T2 minus T1 plus MCP T4 minus T3. That is total compression work. Now I already told you T1 equal to T3, that is perfect intercooling. Now if you rearrange the term, if you take MCP T1 completely outside, you will left with T2 by T1 plus T4 by T3, that is T1, again T3 I am taking now, minus 2. Now after that, let's take 1 kg of air is there, so I can take Cp into T1. Now we know that T2 by T1 is, let's assume this pressure, whatever I'm drawing with the red color, that is P1, that is intermediate pressure Pi, and whatever I'm drawing now, this is P2. So I can write down, P2, sorry, I can write down Pi divided by P1, gamma minus 1 divided by gamma. And here I'm assuming gamma minus gamma equal to X. Now Pi divided by P1 plus, similar way T4 by T3 we can write down P2 divided by Pi, gamma minus 1 by gamma minus 2. Now we need to differentiate this compression work. With respect to Pi, that is intermediate pressure. Let me write down Pi is nothing but intermediate pressure. intermediate pressure. Now let me clear some of the portion. Now we need to differentiate with respect to PI, that is intermediate pressure. After differentiating, you will get PI equal to P1 into P2. That is P higher into P lower. That is intermediate pressure. And that is valid only for getting minimum work output. For minimum work, not output, for minimum work input. That is intermediate pressure for getting minimum work input, or so that the work required for compressing the air will be less when the intermediate pressure will be under root of pH into PL will be there. Now coming to the solution of this question. Now let's solve this question. We got all the idea about whatever the data has been given. Okay, so now we can write down under root of P higher into P lower, but P lower, that is P1 is given, P lower, that is 100 kilopascal is given, and total pressure is given, that is P2 by P1, that is 6 is given, and we know that we can write down P2 by Pi into Pi by P1, that is Pi by P1 whole square. So what I can get? Under root of 6. Now from here, if you calculate Pi, you will get around 244.94 kilopascal. So that is the answer for this question. So remember, it is a 1 mark question. So we have to solve this question like 1 marks only. Directly we need to remember this formula, which is very, very important. We have to remember this formula, and directly we need to apply the whatever the data has been given in the question. So with the knowing the concept of just minimum work input and intermediate pressure formula, we can get the answer for this question number 1. Now moving on to the question number 2. Now moving on to the question number 2, which is again going to relate to compressor, and the working fluid is again air, and there is ideal gas. Basically in the thermodynamics, we are assuming air as ideal gas. Enters a perfectly insulated compressor. Let me draw figure for this compressor. Now this is a compression. This is, I have a compressor which is nothing but insulated. Now let us assume this is a section 1 and this is called a section 2. Let me draw a TS diagram for this figure. We are going to compress, and we have already seen in the previous question, 1 to 2 is nothing but isentropic compression process. But sometime due to friction, the temperature at the outlet will also increases. Sometime due to friction or irreversibility process, the system temperature increases. That is outlet temperature out of the compression, it is going to increase. That is T2 dash. That's why in the question isentropic efficiency is given. Due to irreversibility phenomena, due to friction, and friction is one of the irreversible process. We cannot reverse the direction of the process without changing the effect, without causing any effect on the system. Now we got the basic idea about insulated compressor as well as TS diagram, and we know that isentropic efficiency formula. Isentropic efficiency of compressor, we know that ideal work input and divided by actual work input. That is, ideally we need to give little bit amount of work, but actually we need to give more amount of work. That is H2 minus H1 divided by H2 dash minus H1, and we need to find H2 dash minus H1 in the question. Now every data has been given in the question, so we need not to worry about solution. Once we know the formula, directly we need to apply. But in this question, T1 is given, that is 310 Kelvin. T2 is not given, so no need to worry. T2 by T1, we know that P2 by P1, gamma minus 1 by gamma. So, and we know that P2 by P1, that is pressure ratio 6 gamma minus 1 by gamma. So if you calculate, you will get around 517.225 Kelvin. Now we got the value of T2. Now there is nothing much left in the question. Directly we need to apply formula of isentropic efficiency of compressor. So I can apply H2 minus H1, H2 dash minus H1. We need to find H2 dash minus H1. I can find out by easily MCP into T2 by T1. This is only valid for ideal gas, not for the real gas. Divided by 0.85, which is given 85% isentropic efficiency. Now, if you are going to put the value and if you are going to calculate, you will get around 245 kilojoule per kg. Remember, they are asking round up to nearest integer. So that is 245 kilojoule per kg. That is the answer for the question number 2. Let me discuss isentropic efficiency of turbine. Even though it is not asked in the question, but we can have some idea. That is just reverse. Actual work output, which are very less as compared to ideal work output. That is H2 dash minus H1 divided by H2 minus H1. And that is about the turbine. Okay. Now, moving on to the question number 3, which is nothing but related to ideal Rankine cycle, which is nothing but ideal Rankine cycle operating between pressure of 30 bar, 0.04 bar, and work output from the turbine is given, work input is given, that is through the help of pump. Now, you might confuse, in a some power plant we are using compressor and in some power plant we are using pump. The difference between pump and compressor is that pump we are using to increase the pressure of the working fluid from lower pressure to higher pressure. But compressor is nothing but we are going to use or employ the compressor to increase the pressure as well as temperature of the working fluid. That's the major difference between pump and compressor. Now, let's see solution of this question. They are asking specific steam consumption. But before this, we should understand we should have a complete idea about what is the meaning of specific steam consumption. We denote it by SSC, or we also called it as steam rate. We also call it as steam rate. Now let's see a definition. It is defined as amount of steam required to be supplied to the turbine in kg to produce 1 kilowatt hour. To produce 1 kilowatt of net power output, that is net work output. And there is a formula that is nothing but 1 upon W net. Now, if you put into the kilogram per kilowatt hour, you will get 3600 divided by net work. That is kilogram per kilowatt hour. Now, but the precaution for applying this particular formula is that the work net should be in kilojoule per kg. Everything remains same. Now apply 3600 divided by net work output, nothing but turbine minus pump. So if you apply 3600 divided by 900, you will get 4. That is 4. You are going to get 4 kilogram per kilowatt hour. That is regarding question number 3. Now moving on to the question number 4, which is again Otto cycle, that is related to IC engine. Now, let me give you some brief introduction about air standard Otto cycle and diesel cycle. Otto cycle, basically we are employed in small vehicle, and large vehicle like truck or lorry, we are going to employ a diesel cycle. Now, Let me read the question. Indicated power developed by engine with the compression ratio is given, and that is calculated with the help of Otto cycle. They mention that whatever the work output you are getting from the Otto cycle, that is going to be your say indicated power. That is only equal to indicated power. So now no need to worry about indicated power, how to calculate. Now the rate of heat addition is given. Everything is given in the book in the particular question, that is mechanical efficiency. We need to find brake power output. We need to find brake power output of the engine. Now let's see a solution of this question. First of all, we are going to draw a graph of Otto cycle because we should have idea about the Otto cycle. Let me draw a PV diagram. Whatever the PV diagram we are drawing, we are calling it as indicated diagram only, indicator only. That is going to indicate how your cycle is going to behave. Now, one, two, three, four. We have the four process. Let me write down one by one what are the process. 1 to 2 is nothing but isentropic compression. 2 to 3 is nothing but constant volume heat addition. 3 to 4 is nothing but isentropic expansion. And again 4 to 1, there is a constant volume heat rejection. Now we have seen the basic idea about Otto cycle. Let's solve the question. Everything is given to you. First of all, compression ratio is given. We know that efficiency of the Otto cycle 1 by R power gamma minus 1. Now, if you calculate, you will get 0.5647. R is given as 8. Now, we know that efficiency net work output divided by heat supply. And this is only we are calling indicated power. From here, indicated power, if you calculate, you are going to get approximately 5.647 kilowatt. Now, mechanical efficiency is given, and we know that mechanical efficiency is nothing but brake power divided by indicated power. And brake power we are going to get around 4.5 kilowatt. That is the answer for this question, 4.5 kilowatt. Now you are thinking, what is the difference between indicated power and brake power? Indicated power is nothing but the power which are generating actually. The brake power is nothing but the power which are available at the output of the shaft. Output of the engine and the whatever the shaft is there, output shaft through which the vehicle is going to rotate, that particular shaft, whatever the power is available, that is called as brake power. And we have the different dynamometer to calculate the brake power in the practical condition. And the formula for brake power, if you calculate 2 pi nt divided by 60, that is the formula to calculate brake power. So that is regarding question number 4, and that is very simple problem. So that is all about 4 questions we have discussed regarding mechanical set 1. Now we are going to see mechanical set 2 paper, in which we have a number of questions, around 6 questions we are asked regarding basic applied thermodynamics. Let's see one by one. Okay. Now here we are going to see mechanical set 2 paper. Okay. Reading out the first question, air is standard diesel cycle. So it is very simple. They are just checking whether you are knowing about PV diagram or not, whether you are knowing about diesel cycle or not. So let's draw a PV diagram to have a complete understanding of diesel cycle. Let me draw one, two, three, 4. Now, if you observe very carefully, this is nothing but work of compression, work of expansion, and there is a heat addition, and there is a heat rejection. you can very clearly see that heat addition is happening at constant pressure and heat rejection is happening at constant volume. So regarding that, the question number C, question number 1, the C option, the heat addition is at constant pressure and heat addition is at constant pressure and heat rejection at constant volume. That is regarding question number 1, option C is correct. Whereas we have seen in the Otto cycle, heat addition happening at the constant volume and heat rejection also happening at constant volume. So that is a basic difference between diesel cycle and Otto cycle. Now moving on to the question number 2, that is a problem related to hydraulic turbo machine. Now let me give a brief introduction about what so-called a degree of reaction. Let me give a brief introduction about degree of reaction. Degree of reaction and why it is important term in turbo machinery. Whether it is hydraulic turbine or steam turbine, we calculate degree of reaction for both the cases. Now, degree of reaction for basically hydraulic turbine, degree of reaction basically for hydraulic turbine, we usually define by change in pressure head or pressure energy head over the runner divided by total change in the energy. Now you will ask, what are the total change in the energy? The total change in energy is nothing but kinetic energy plus potential energy. Let's say what is the degree of reaction formula for hydraulic turbine? So U1 square minus U2 square divided by 2G plus these are related to pressure head term and total kinetic energy. Whatever the total energy, we have runner power divided by mass flow rate into G. That is the formula regarding degree of reaction for hydraulic turbine. Now you will ask, sir, nothing is given in the question. That is U1, VR1, nothing is given. Runner power, nothing is given. They have given in terms of enthalpy. Remember that we calculate in terms of enthalpy for steam turbine. And the formula is the change in enthalpy for moving blade to the change in enthalpy of moving blade plus change in enthalpy of fixed blade. That is the formula for steam turbine. So we have seen two formula, first formula and second formula. Whenever based on the data, you can apply degree of reaction. Now let me solve the question based on the data which is given. The degree of reaction is given as change of enthalpy in the moving blade to the change in enthalpy of moving blade plus fixed blade. In the moving blade, basically 2 to 3, so I can write down H2 minus H3, H2 minus H3 plus H1 minus H2. If you rearrange the term, H3 minus H2 divided by 2 times of, because H3 minus H2 is given as H2 minus H1. So if you rearrange the term here, you will get 2 times of H3 minus H2. So if you calculate 1 upon 2 and if you calculate in percentage, you will get around 50%. Not around, exactly, you are going to get 50%. That is the answer for this question number 2. Now, let's see the question number 3. Let's discuss question number 3. Okay, solution. Basically, this question is related to refrigerator and heat pump. We know that. Let me give a brief idea about refrigerator. T lower, T higher, and we are going to give work input, because Clausius statement said that if you want to transfer the energy from lower temperature to higher temperature, we have to give some amount of work input to the system. Otherwise, it will violate the clauses statement. And that machine we call PMM2 machine. And that is practically not possible. So COP of refrigerator, we have standard formula, that is T lower divided by T higher minus T lower. And COP of, we know that heat pump 1 plus COP of refrigerator. And if you are calculating in terms of temperature, you are going to get T higher divided by T higher minus T lower. Now they are asking a very simple question, that is COP of refrigerator divided by COP of heat pump. Heat pump is basically the device which is used to heat the room. Whatever the room is there, we require heat in that room or some kind of external energy that provides some source of external energy to the system, that is heat pump. Refrigerator is nothing but to cool the system, to cool the room. That purpose we are using refrigerator. That is the basic difference between heat pump and refrigerator. If you are going to calculate, you will going to get T lower divided by T high, and T lower is nothing but, remember T is nothing but in Kelvin. Don't put in degree centigrade. So regarding the answer, 270 divided by 300. So we are going to get 0.9. So that is the answer for question number 3. Let's move on to the question number 4. Basically, it is related to air conditioning topic. Refrigeration and air conditioning. So this particular question is RAC problem. Now, we know that moist air is nothing but dry air plus little bit amount of water vapor. Mass of air we call and mass of vapor we call. And the ratio of mass of vapor to the mass of air we generally call it as specific humidity. Now, that is the basic idea of question. Let's see what they are asking in the question. Now, there is a system, there is a duct in which there is a cooling coil. Section 1, this is called section 2. Now everything is given to you in the question. Now let me give total pressure 105 kilopascal, and we have relative humidity, that is 0.8. Total pressure at the section 2 is 100 kilopascal, and 5 is nothing but 1, that is 100% saturation. The relative humidity is 100%, that is saturation. And the temperature is given as T1 is given as 30 degrees centigrade. Now it is cooled to 15 degrees centigrade. Now remember, this is called dry bulb temperature. This is called as dry bulb temperature. And whatever the pressure corresponding to dry bulb temperature, we call PVS, not PV. PV is nothing but related to dew point temperature. PVS is nothing but related to dry bulb temperature. And here it is given 4.24 kilopascal. That is PVS1. And PVS2 is given as 1.7 kilopascal. We have this particular formula, right? And from the steam table it is given directly here. It is given the question, so no need to worry. Now, so we have all the data in our hand. Let me remove some of the portions so that I can write down. Fine. Now, they are asking mass of the water vapor, mass of the water which is condensing, that is V1 minus V2. That is the mass of the water which are condensing. That can be easily calculated omega 1 minus omega 2 into mass of the air, that is going to be constant. But here they are said gram per kg of dry air, that is 1 kg of air we are going to consider. So directly we need to calculate omega 1 minus omega 2 only in this question. Now that is very, very simple problem. Now it become very simple. Now it become very simple. Let me calculate omega 1, that is 0.622. That is standard formula we have PT1 minus PV1. If you put all the value 0.622, PV1 is nothing but phi1 is nothing but PV1 divided by PVS1. So if you calculate from this, you will get around 4.24 into 0.8, 3.392. You will get around 3.392 divided by 105 minus 3.392. If you are going to calculate, you are going to get the value of omega 1. Let me write down here so that it will be visible to you. That is 0.02076. That is kilogram of water vapor per kg of dry air. Similar way you can calculate omega 2. Similar way you can calculate omega 2, and that is very simple because PV2 is nothing but PVS2, because phi is given as 1. Phi is given as 1. So omega 2 you can calculate 0.622 PV1. PV2 you can directly put here PVS2 divided by PT2, that is total pressure, minus PVS2, because I already said PV2 equal to PVS2. If you calculate V2, that is omega 2, 0.622 into 1.7 divided by 100 minus 1.7. So if you are putting the value, you will get around 0.01075. That is again the unit is same, per kg of dry air. Now nothing is left in the question. We need to find the difference between omega 1 and omega 2 so that we can solve our question. Now we need to find out omega 1 minus omega 2. Let's calculate omega 1 minus omega 2. If you calculate, you will get around 10 gram per kg of dry air. Gram, it is gram, and they ask nearest integers. So the answer will be 10. So that is an important question regarding air conditioning. Now let's move on to the question number 5. Let's move on to the question number 5. Now here we are going to see a problem related to again steam power plant. Again we are going to see problem related to steam power plant. I remember that among all the efficiency, among all the power plant, we have gas turbine plant having lowest efficiency, lowest thermal efficiency. Now steam power plant, it is having higher than efficiency of gas turbine plant. Now that is a small point regarding objective question. Now let's move on to this question number 5. In steam power plant, the superheated steam is there. The superheated steam at megapascal, that is 10 megapascal and 500 degrees centigrade, is going to expand. That is turbine number 1. That is high pressure turbine is going to expand in low pressure turbine with the help of reheater. Means that here we are going to heat 2 times. First of all in the boiler and second time in the reheater. Now let's draw a clear diagram of TS diagram for Rankine cycle related to reheating. That is called as reheating phenomena. So let me draw a clear view of Rankine cycle or steam power plant with reheating. Rankine cycle with reheating, and basically we are doing the reheating to get the maximum work output. We are going to get the maximum work output from the system, because if one turbine is there, we are getting W1, 2 turbine, that is W1 plus W2. Obviously the net effect on the system is that the net work output from the system is going to increase because pump work is constant. The pump work is going to be constant. The important contrast is to get the efficiency, whether we are getting increase in efficiency or decrease in efficiency, or we cannot predict. We are going to discuss later on. First, see the TS diagram of this question. Let's see a TS diagram of this particular question. See, this is the point number 1. Now, let me pinpoint each and every point in the graph 1 to 2, or let's say this is the point number. Let's say this is the point number. Let me draw a figure first. Okay. Now I'm calling this is my point number 1, point 2, 3, 4. Now the remaining part of the cycle is not of use. Just I will say what are the process. 5 to 6 is nothing but pump work. 6 to 7 is nothing but, or 6 to 1 is called as boiler section, where heat is going to given to the working fluid, that is water, so that it's going to be converted into the steam. Now 1 to 2 is nothing but high pressure turbine. Now 2 to 3 is nothing but reheating, and 3 to 4 again going to be low pressure turbine work. Now, if you just see the data, everything is given to you. H1 is given, that is 3373.6 kilojoule per kg. H2 is given 2778.1 kilojoule per kg. H3 is given 3478.4 kilojoule per kg, but we don't know H4 value. Here we have drawn up to the saturated curve, but we don't know whether it will come to the point 4 exactly or not, which we have seen. So just let me again redraw this figure so that no confusion at all. Assume that this is the point number 4. Assume that this is the point number 4. Now, this is the point number 4. Okay, now it's clear. Now, okay, this is the point number 4. We don't know where it is exactly lying. 5, 6 point. Now, H4 we don't know. We can calculate H4 when we know HF plus X4, HFG4. HFG4. It may be here or it may be here. It will only be predicted by with the help of X4. If it is greater than 1, that is outside. If it is less than 1, it will be inside. Now, let us assume at this point it is having, that is X4 value is having some value, let's say X. Now, for calculation of X4, we are going to equate S3 equal to S4, that is isentropic process. Because of isentropic process. Because of isentropic process. Now we are going to just equate S3 equal to S4. So S3 we have, that is superheated condition, and we know the pressure also. We know the pressure value, the different pressure value we have given to us. So 7 point S3 equal to S4, 7621 equal to SF4 plus X4 SG4 minus SF4. So if you calculate X4, you are going to get 0.9793. That means it is less than 1, so it is lying inside the curve, inside the dome. Now, so you can draw a neat figure of this question. this particular diagram as, let me draw, you can calculate, you can draw like this. Let me draw again. Now this is your actual figure. This is 0.5, this is 0.6. Now that is less than 1. So now we can calculate H4. If you calculate, you are going to get value is nothing but 2560.88. Now regarding the pressure, at what pressure you are going to calculate? Now remember that, let me just move on to the back to the question. You can see the pressure is given 1 megapascal and 20 kilopascal. Okay. So the pressure is given as 20 kilopascal. So you are going to calculate at 20 kilopascal, and same this also you are going to calculate at 20 kilopascal. This pressure is given as 1 megapascal and this is given as 10 megapascal. Let me check again. Okay, correct. Now everything we know, just we need to put the value in the formula, and the formula for work done, we know that steady flow energy equation. We can apply steady flow energy equation for the turbine, so that we can calculate total work done is nothing but T1 plus T2, that is turbine 1 plus turbine 2. Turbine 1 is nothing but H1 minus H2, that is H1 and H2, and H3 minus H4, that is H3 minus H4. We know each and every value, H1, H2, H3, H4. If you are going to calculate, you are going to get 1513 kilojoule per kg. 1513 kilojoule per kg. And the range for this question is given as 1500 to 1525 kilojoule per kg. And our answer is lying in between the range which is given by IIT professors. Now, that is regarding question number 5. That is a steam power plant. They have just mentioned that it is a reheating process. Now we are going to calculate total work output, that is work done by both the turbine together, that is kilojoule per kg. And important thing is that they have mentioned round up to nearest integer, not decimal. Now let's move on to the last question of this session, in which we were discussing about applied thermodynamics for mechanical set 1 and set 2. Let's see solution of this question. First, reading out the question. Keeping all other parameters identical, the compression ratio is given as, the value is given. The compression ratio is increased from 15 to 21, and we are going to find out what is the difference between the efficiency of diesel cycle. Diesel cycle. So diesel cycle, we have the two questions. First is objective question. Now there is a 2-mark question also. Now, coming to the solution of question number 6, let me discuss separately. Okay, solution. First of all, let me draw a figure of PV diagram. Let me draw a PV diagram of this figure, P versus V diagram. Now we know that just now we have drawn in the first question of this set 2, 1 to 2, that is isentropic compression, 2 to 3, heat addition at constant pressure, isobaric process, and isoporic, that is constant volume, we have 4 to 1 process. Now we know that diesel efficiency, work net divided by heat supplied, that is 2 to 3, that is heat supplied. Now work net we can write down heat addition minus heat rejection divided by heat addition. If you are going to calculate and rearrange the term, directly you can get, and we have to remember the formula, 1 minus 1 by r power gamma minus 1 into rho power gamma minus 1 divided by gamma into rho minus 1. Gamma into rho minus 1. where gamma is nothing but, here it is given RC, that is nothing but cutoff ratio. Is nothing but cutoff ratio. The cutoff ratio we call as V3 by V2. At what point we are going to cut the fuel supply to the system in the diesel cycle? That is called as cutoff ratio. And compression ratio is nothing but V1 by V2. Expansion ratio is going to be called as V4 by V3. Now, no need of expansion ratio, and that is not given in the question also. Now we have to find out efficiency at compression ratio 21 minus efficiency at compression ratio 15 in terms of percentage. So let me calculate again. Now, if you are putting the value in the formula, that's it. That is compression ratio 15. If you are putting the value 1 by 15 and gamma is given not 1.4, 1.3 it is given. That is specific heat ratio is given as 1.3. Now rho power gamma, that is nothing but cutoff ratio is given as 2 minus 1 divided by 1.3, 2 minus 1. Of course it is 1. Now if you calculate, you will get around 50.08 percentage. Efficiency 1. Similar way, if you calculate at compression ratio 21, you are going to get around 54.87 percentage. Now if you calculate the difference, if you are going to calculate difference between 2 minus 1, you are going to get 4.8 percentage. And the range of this question is given as 4.6 to 4.9. That means our answer is absolutely correct because it is lying in the range, that is 4.6 to 4.9. 4.6 to 4.9. That is regarding question number 6. That is diesel cycle. That is diesel cycle. Now you can take one important point. Whenever the compression ratio increases, now we can say that the efficiency of diesel cycle is going to increase. That is a very, very important. They can ask in the objective question, they can frame from the subjective, whatever the conventional question is there, whatever the data we have, they can frame the question basically for the objective point of view also. So whenever the compression ratio is going to increase, efficiency is going to increase. As we have seen, the efficiency increases from 50.08 to 54.87 percentage. So that is all regarding question number, that is applied thermodynamic question for mechanical set 1 and set 2. So thank you guys.